Canada's housing crisis, a ticking time bomb. Canada is in the middle of a housing crisis, and the truth? It's a ticking time bomb. Before we dive into this explosive topic, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. At CrimeChrono, we don't just scratch the surface, we dig deep into the events, figures, and mysteries that have shaped our world. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, and let's uncover history together. Now, let's get into it. Let's not sugarcoat it. Canada's housing market is a disaster. It's not just a crisis anymore. It's a full-blown catastrophe that's turning cities into playgrounds for the rich, while ordinary people are left scrambling for scraps. We're talking about a country where having a roof over your head, a basic human need, has turned into a twisted game of survival. Want to buy a home? Good luck. Want to rent a place? You'll need even more luck, plus a kidney to cover the rent. And if you're dreaming of one day owning property, let me break it to you. That dream is dead for most Canadians. But how did we get here? Who's to blame? And more importantly, is there any way out of this mess? Let's call out the culprits because there's enough blame to go around. Politicians love to talk big about affordable housing, but their actions, or lack thereof, speak louder. Decades of ignoring the issue, coupled with weak policies that pander to investors, have created this mess. Municipal governments are some of the worst offenders, hiding behind endless bureaucracy and red tape. Zoning laws that protect single-family homes are nothing but a fortress for the privileged few, keeping everyone else locked out. Former Toronto Chief Planner Jennifer Keesmaat put it best: "We have prioritized the past over the future." Translation? Politicians are too scared to upset their wealthy constituents, so nothing changes. Then we have developers and investors who've turned housing into a cash cow. They're not building homes, they're building assets. The more expensive the property, the higher the profits. Affordable housing? Forget it. That's not where the money is. Foreign investors are also playing their part. Yes, some people hate hearing this, but it's true. International money has poured into Canadian cities, turning our housing market into a glorified stock exchange. Let's not let domestic buyers off the hook either. There's a growing army of so-called mom-and-pop landlords and small-scale speculators snapping up properties left and right. They're not buying homes, they're hoarding them, betting on prices to rise. And when they do, rent skyrockets and the rest of us get screwed. Canada's major cities, Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, have become unlivable for anyone not making six figures. Vancouver is a perfect storm of insanity. The mountains and ocean make land scarce, but that's not the real problem. It's the city's addiction to luxury developments that cater to millionaires and billionaires. You'll find entire neighborhoods of empty homes, ghost towns owned by people who don't even live in the country. Meanwhile, people who work in the city, like nurses and teachers, are being forced out to the suburbs or even further. Toronto isn't any better. The average home price here? Over $1 million. If you're renting, prepare to cough up more than half your paycheck for a shoebox-sized apartment. And don't even get me started on the waiting list for affordable housing. They're a joke. This crisis isn't just about numbers, it's about lives. Young Canadians, millennials and Gen Z are inheriting a nightmare. Homeownership is out of reach for most, and even renting is a constant struggle. Families, imagine trying to raise kids when you're being forced to move every year because landlords keep hiking the rent. Homelessness. And then there are the people who've been completely pushed out of the system. Homelessness is rising, and our cities are turning a blind eye. Mental health? Forget about it. The stress of just keeping a roof over your head is enough to break anyone. Let's talk about the so-called solutions our leaders keep throwing at us. Vacancy taxes, a half-baked attempt to punish owners of empty homes. Does it work? Barely. These taxes are a slap on the wrist for the super rich who can afford to leave properties vacant. Foreign buyers tax. It sounds good on paper, but it's like plugging a gaping wound with a Band-Aid. The real problem is domestic speculation and a lack of supply. Stress tests. These were meant to stop reckless borrowing, but all they've done is make it harder for first-time buyers to get into the market. Steve Pomeroy, a housing expert, summed it up perfectly. These policies look good in headlines, but they're not solving the actual problem. Here's the harsh truth. Canada's housing crisis isn't just a failure of policy, it's a symptom of a broken system. We've turned housing into a commodity, a way to build wealth rather than provide shelter. Want proof? Just look at the people who benefit. Investors, speculators, and developers are raking in profits, while everyone else is left fighting for scraps. So, is there a way out of this mess? Maybe. But it's going to take guts, and frankly, our leaders haven't shown they have any. Here's what needs to happen. Zoning reform. Tear down the outdated zoning laws that protect single-family homes. If we want more housing, we need to build up, not out. Massive public housing projects. Remember when governments actually built homes for people? It's time to bring that back, on a massive scale. Crack down on speculation. Tax the hell out of anyone using homes as investment vehicles, whether they're foreign or domestic. The Canadian housing crisis isn't just an economic problem, it's a moral one. We've allowed greed, corruption, and apathy to turn a basic human need into a luxury. And until we confront the hard truths, nothing will change. The dream of owning a home will stay just that, a dream. If you found this video insightful and want to explore more stories from history's darkest chapters, make sure to subscribe to CrimeChrono YouTube channel. Together, let's uncover the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. Subscribe now.